Today we're going to be looking at the equation of a circle and deriving that equation from the Pythagorean theorem. So first let's just look at this equation for a circle. Here we have something squared plus something squared equals something squared. I'm hoping that sounds kind of familiar when you're thinking about the Pythagorean theorem, because you'll remember that the Pythagorean theorem is for right triangles. That's what this little symbol here means. It's a right triangle, 90-degree angle in a triangle. And the Pythagorean theorem says that a squared, meaning either leg, times b squared, meaning the other leg, equals c squared, which is the hypotenuse. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And so as you see, if you look at this equation for a circle, it looks very similar, right? It's something squared plus something squared equals r squared. So we're going to look for a second at how do we get from the Pythagorean theorem to this equation for a circle, which is very similar. The first thing we're going to do is draw a circle on a coordinate plane. We're not going to assume the center is 0, 0. It would be easier conceptually if we did, but we're not going to assume the center is 0, 0 so that we can get the formula in the abstract or general form. So in other words, we're not using center as 0, 0. Just remember that part. What we're going to say the center is HK. Those are random letters that someone chose, and we're going to stick with what they chose. And then we're going to pick a point anywhere on the circumference and name that XY. X for the x coordinate of that point, y for the y coordinate of that point, h for the x coordinate of the center, k for the y coordinate of the center. So remember, there's no meaning to these letters. They just were what were randomly assigned to these points, and we're going to use them so that we can get to the same endpoint on the equation. So so far we just have a line. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to drop a line from xk to the x-axis, make a right angle there, and now we have a right triangle. And I'm curious whether you're going to guess how we get to our formula for a circle, because here's the radius, and you remember in the equation for a circle, it ended in radius squared. So in a Pythagorean right triangle, a squared plus b squared equals, in this case, r squared. So how could we get the distance of a and the distance of b so that we can find r squared? The first thing we're going to do is name, excuse me, let me find my cursor, here we go, name this random point. But we're not going to name it randomly. We named the center randomly, we named the point on the circumference randomly, but this point isn't random. It's going to be called xk. And why xk? The x coordinate of this point that we drew to is going to be the same x coordinate as this point, because we dropped it right down. So its distance from the center in the horizontal direction is going to be the same distance as this one, which was x. So this point, the coordinate of this point starts with x. X is the first coordinate. What about the y coordinate? It's got the same y coordinate as the center. It's exactly as far up and down as the center is, in which case that means k. So that means we have to name this point that we made ourselves xk. I'm wondering if you can guess now that we know the names of these 3 points, how we could find the distance between these 2 points to square it, these 2 points to square it, add those 2 to get this squared. Well, let's start with this A, it's going to be the difference between y, the height coordinate on this line, and k, which is the bottom of that vertical line. So the difference between y and k, and if you look down here, the difference between y and k is written like this, y minus k. Then look at b, it's going to be the difference between x, which is here, and h, which is here. That's the horizontal distance. So x, the x coordinate of this line, and of this point, and h, the x coordinate of this point. Find the difference and you'll get this line. And the way that we write that is x minus h. Now all we have to do is use the Pythagorean theorem. A squared becomes y minus k squared. B squared becomes x minus h squared. And r squared is r squared, or y, yeah, we used r squared all the time, sorry. In the Pythagorean theorem, it's really c squared, but I used r squared all the time, so it was r squared. So it's really not too difficult, and you may wonder, you know, what is this good for? It enables us to find the relationships between the center and the radius and any point on the outside of a circle. You know, if you have any of three of those things, we can find the other thing, the fourth. It's just a statement of the relationship between those things. That in this formula, it's stating how those things are related. Okay, good luck and thanks.